it's interesting you said like we're all one, there's we're all underneath the skin underneath the skin it's like we're all the same. And then I think that's really meaningful for me. I come from like a Christian background.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be like me, I'd be putting that in the category of like an understanding of we're all made in the image of God, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I'll take it a step further. We're all God. There's nothing above us, and we don't set ourselves above anyone else. We're all the same. Because underneath the vehicle, underneath the ego of the mind
Yeah.
that's like, take the ego away or calm it down. Let
Sure.
it not drive, and let the heart drive. Okay, and underneath it all is just energy.
Are you Buddhist?
No.
Oh, okay, that's something, yeah.
But you know what? Same, right?
Okay.
It's just same. It's all same. I just, I don't like it when people put themselves below. Because you know what? You're just as good. You're just as awesome. Everyone is as good.
You said it's just something interesting, like that they're good and that you can't really judge anyone else because, hey, you don't know their background, they don't know like where they've been, what they've experienced, and that ultimately could have been you, given the circumstances. And so no judgment.
It is you.
Yeah.
Because we're all the same. We're all one. We are just the universe playing the part of a person. I am just the universe playing a part of this person named Tara. You are the universe playing this part, and you are the universe playing this part. Universe, we're just all manifested, and then we all just
Fundamentally, what is the difference between myself and, say, a rock on the street? In your perspective?
Vibrational frequency.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have an ego.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
But
And it's not like, oh, he's got an ego, he's cocky. It's like, no, you have an ego that rationalizes. But now, like, the ego's been used to being in the driver's seat so long, and like the heart's in the back seat, and it's just like, wait a minute. Like, no. Nothing bad's always gonna happen. Don't create the fear. Our suffering is our own. If we all just loved, that's all we want. We all want to love and be loved.
Right.
Sure.
So would you say maybe like the purpose of life is happiness?
Is love.
Is love?
Yeah.
And how do you define that? Like love? Like
Compassion.
Okay.
Compassion, connection.
In the connection, it's a good thing.
We want to connect. You can't be alone.
Yeah.
You need that. And it's because it's like, I need more of me. I should look at you and see me. You should look at me and see you. And same with you. Like, we are great mirrors for each other. That's when, like, some people, when they get pissed off and they want to bounce something off on you, they're just projecting into a mirror.
So is that like the ultimate kind of like how you see everything else through?
You know what? I would love to have it just be love. Yeah. I don't know what else.
Like that's the lens you see the world through.
That's the lens I'm going to try to see the world through.
Oh, okay.
That's a practice.
So you struggle with that?
Yeah, dude. It's the ego.
Have you done like studies into like psychology and stuff?
No. Like I'm in yoga teacher training right now.
Okay.
And that helps. That talks a lot about, just how to live your life in a more authentic way. Microdosing and understanding what microdosing does and how it calms the ego down. It doesn't get it out of there because that's the human experience to be able to live with the ego, with the heart, and for them to join hands and go through this together.
Where's that going? What is the ultimate end goal?
Be enlightened? I don't know. To
at the end of time itself, as it collapses, what's left? Like where's that going?
Just to love. Just love. That's it. Just to see someone and show them love. No judgment.
But like after you die, like
after I die.
After you die, after everyone's gone.
To not come back into the human life experience.
Okay.
Because that's the deal. You're here to learn something. And when you've learned it, you can continue. I believe that you come back as a human.
Okay.
Or something else. Like maybe you made a deal and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to come back as a dog that has decent owners.
What decides how good of a life you've lived and what you get to come back as your next life?
You do.
You do.
I'm sure. Not your human self.
Okay.
When you're done with that,
Okay.
because not your ego. 'Cause your ego is going to be a complete shit to you.
Sure. So when your human body dies,
Yeah, you have energy. You have an energy. It's part of
does
the
your
universe.
energy? Do you believe that your energy sees things from a different scope then?
I have
not
no
in the,
clue.
Okay.
But I would love to find out.
How familiar you are with Christianity. But
Not amazingly.
Yeah.
I don't know. My take on it was I did not enjoy the fact that someone was above my worth or above me, and it's like, and that's just my own opinion. When I see the bumper stickers that say he is greater than I, I'm like, no, you guys are just the same. It's all good. Like, he doesn't want to be above you. He wants to be the same.
it's like ultimately, do you think you're a good person?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as a Christian, I would say that we're given a conscience, right? You'd ascribe that to something else, but I'll kind of give you the definition that I would be working with. And this is kind of interesting. I'd love to get your take on it. Maybe if it brings it into light that he is greater than I, like that whole thing, like that why we would even say that. Maybe it'll bring it into better like perspective.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think you're a good person, like, have you ever told a lie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever stolen anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to. So
Yeah.
you know,
No, I'm not.
I
Like,
was 12.
level playing field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And then something like Jesus said, he said, if you look at a person with lust, you commit adultery in your heart.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, everyone I've spoken to is like, that's
Yeah.
obviously terrible. And then he also went a step further and said, if you hate your brother, you're guilty of murder. Because that's kind of the birthplace of where those desires come from.
I'll be there.
Oh yeah, no, we won't take too long, but
That's interesting because that doesn't allow you the emotions of a human.
well, it would say that those are bad, right? That those aren't good things. That they're actually something that is contrary to the ultimate good in our universe. Meaning, like, since we have this knowledge that separates us from the animals, meaning right and wrong, and like you said, ego.
Right.
And I would say, like, it's our moral ability that separates us from the rest of creation.
Okay.
And so,
Who dictates what our moral, what the guidelines are?
your creator.
God. Yeah.
Ourselves. Or what about our society, our culture that we're raised in?
Right, and so I would say that society, and this is a common thing I've like spoken with a few people about. But if a society, like, and I always have to harken back, right, to a terrible society, Nazi Germany.
Okay.
If they decide that it's perfectly legal, and let's say the whole world even gets on board with that, and says it's perfectly legal to off certain people to further along the evolutionary chain, and Aryan thought, or anything like that, I would say still, because we're made in the image of God, even though society says that's correct, it's still wrong.
Because what
Because
you're
there's-
doing.
there's-
Because you're killing.
Yeah, because
Because
God,
you're taking another life.
because
Well,
God has
because
spoken. Right?
yeah,
So-
because human beings we believe they're all made in the image of God, and so they're all inherently important for that reason.
Right.
And so, your mind tells you it's wrong to go and harm another person.
Right.
And so therefore, I believe that that's our God-given conscience telling us that. And so when we violate that, we're in the wrong. And so that's why it's wrong, is because our mind is telling us that it's wrong.
Yeah, and so it's like image of God basically means like we're reflecting His character, and basically our conscience gives us that knowledge. It is society shaped for sure. Like we all are raised and we believe what our parents believe, right?
Or we
reject
Well,
it.
at least for a while.
we decide to, search for our own.
Yeah,
Sure,
but we're all raised in a scope. We all start out with
Yes,
some kind of
we're all-
foundation.
yeah,
Their
you're
foundation, right?
domesticated to survive.
Yeah.
And then you grow, and then your brain matures, and then you're at this point in your life where you're questioning things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a very healthy.
Yes.
It's a very healthy process. I think everybody should. I hope someday our daughter goes through that, and
They all will.
You know,
Yeah.
brings her own, like, studies her own things and comes to her own conclusion on things. I don't want her to just blindly listen to what we believe. You know.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And so, basically, all this to be said is that the Bible sets up this this dichotomy, right? As humans, we're idolaters, meaning that we elevate. There's one God, and He is the only God. He says in Isaiah 43:10, "There's none before me, none after,"
Interesting.
and that I am the only God here in the heavens, and He does whatever He pleases. And so, we exchange the relationship with God for a lie, elevating something to the place of God in our life, whether it's ourselves, our money, sex, drugs, all the rest. And we elevate things to the ultimate principium of who gets to determine reality and truth and justice and goodness. And we either elevate us or another person or anything like that. And ultimately, it's foolish because it's not the God who creates, the God who exists, the one that brings to life from nothing. And so, when I was bringing up, are you a good person? I brought up some moral comments, right?
Right.
And those are like the 10 Commandments, right?
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with those,
Yeah.
but they're like, carved in stone in a lot of
Yeah.
state capitol buildings and all the rest there. And basically, the premise and the whole foundation of Christianity is that created good, we fell, right? We fell in Adam, and the first person to transgress, to go against what God asked. And that through that, we inherit, kind of, put it that way, and we actually committed the same wrong He did in the garden. We would have done the same thing. And then through the redemptive plan of God, He became a man, Jesus, as Christians always say, and then lived the perfect life, moral life, that actually elevated God to a place where He was supposed to be all His life, like in everyone's life. And then Jesus lived the perfect life we couldn't, died the death we deserved. That's why we die, I believe. Died the death we deserved, and then resurrected historically. And it's kind of God's stamp of approval on His life. And that the call to humans is to turn from what we know is wrong and to trust in Him, because ultimately, and here's the Christian perspective, there's no good people.
Oh, wow. That's sad. Is it okay? I'm gonna cut over here.
Oh, yeah.